everyone, so today we're creating warm or cool colored dragon eyes. Today we want to focus on two things. Number one, we're thinking about texture. Texture in this circumstance is suggesting implied. Implied means you can't actually reach out and touch it, but based off the visual clues created by the artist, we can imply how it might feel if we were to run our hands over these dragon scales. Second, we are either selecting warm or cool colors for our dragon eye specifically. This is a cool color example. So for cool colors, you will select the blues, greens, and purples. If you are selecting the warm colors, like our example we're going to create today, you are selecting yellows, oranges, reds, and you can also include pink with your warms. You'll also need a white and a black. I'm using oil pastels. You can use oil pastels or whatever coloring supplies you have available. Oil pastels are similar to crayons, except they blend a little bit better and they color a bit faster, but they are a little more messy. So be prepared for that if you have oil pastels. Okay, so we need a piece of paper, pencil, and our either warm or cool color pastels or coloring supplies of choice, as well as our white and black. And we're going to jump in and get started. We are going to start with our pencil and our paper first. Once we have our pencil and our paper, we're going to make sure the paper is horizontal, so side to side. And we're going to start by drawing the eye. Now, the shape of this eye is going to take up the majority or most of the paper. It's going to be similar to an almond or a football shape. So I'm going to start with one side and the shape's going to be kind of slanted. And I'm going to start with the shape. I'm going to stretch it over pretty far. And then I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. Noticing about how big the shape is, about how much space. Feel free to fix your shape or change it a little if we need to use our eraser. I'm going to go over this line a little. Okay. Once you are happy with your kind of almond or football shape, it's a bit tilted, we are then going to move on. Inside of this shape, we are going to add a couple more curved lines. So we're going to add one on each side. After that, we're going to add one more. This one is very curved because what we're going to do is we're going to imagine that this is a large circle. So although we can't see all of the circle, we're imagining that large circle right here. And then on the inside, right near the center, we're going to add a slit shape. So it's going to start from the top. It's not going to reach quite to the bottom, but then it's going to turn right back up towards the top. But on this side, I'm going to put a bit of a curve. This is going to be for the reflection in the eye later on. There we go. I'm going to go in and maybe clean up my lines a little bit. Now, we are going to add a few layers around the eyes before we get to the scales. So we're almost done with that eye. Getting closer. Okay, now, around the eye, we are going to add these two layers. So how we're going to do that is we are going to Draw kind of like the eyelid, so it's a similar curve right at the top. Go a little far out. We're kind of following that top kind of curve shape, but we're giving the same kind of consistent space as we go around. It's kind of the top eyelid area. And then we're going to do the same at the bottom, imagining it's tucked in, kind of at this piece here. Trying to keep that same space as we curve back around and up to the other side. Once we have kind of the top and the bottom, we're actually going to do this one more time. It's kind of like 2 layers to each. I'm not going to make my top one quite as big as the bottom, but I'm still going to try to keep that distance or that space pretty consistent as I go up and all the way over to the other side. And then one more time at the bottom. All right, feel free to take a pause, take a second, and clean up those lines a little bit if you need to. So far we have our first layer and our second layer of scales. Notice that when we continue to add our layers of scales, that when we start and kind of go up with our scale, that we don't want to land exactly in between where the 2 scales below it land together. So you want to kind of try to maybe land in the middle or so that they do not fall into the same exact spot. Let's continue on to finish our other layers on our eye. As we continue our layers, we're going to make sure we go all the way to the edge of the paper. So see how it goes all the way to the edge? Sometimes you might even get cut off, but you would imagine where that line would continue so that you can get your scales all the way across and fill up that page. Okay, so now we have down our eye, eyelids, the details inside of our eye, as well as our scales that expand all the way to the edge of the paper. An optional step now is to use your black coloring supply and go over the lines before you start coloring. That way, it's a little bit easier to not lose your lines. You might even need to go over them again at the end, but it's just kind of helpful. So go ahead and take a second, go over your lines quickly with your black coloring supply. outlined your image with black, the last thing you want to do, you can erase some of the pencil lines if you want to maybe get rid of some of those that you don't want. And then you're going to take your black coloring supply, and in the center shape, you're going to color that in solid black. It might take a layer or two to do that. That's fine. But you do want this centerpiece colored in solid. Once you have colored in this centerpiece with solid black, then you're going to go ahead and grab your either cool or warm colors, and you do need to make a decision between the two. So you're either going to get your green, blue, and purple, and you're going to stick with those. It's okay if you have different kind of tints, tones, or shades of those, as long as they're green, blue, or purple. Or you're going to stick with your warm colors. So you're going to get your orange, your reds, and your yellows. And pink is okay with those warm colors too. So go ahead and make your decision. Make sure you grab the right colors, get those ready. And once you are to the point, you can go ahead and start coloring in. Once you've finished coloring in, feel free to go back in and use your black coloring supply to maybe outline anywhere where you've lost your lines if you need them back. And then you're all finished, and I cannot wait until I get to see yours.